Hello there and welcome to the Midday Brief. Over the next hour, here are some of the stories you should expect. Calm returns to Ashaiman a day after youth protest bad roads, and we will be touching base with my colleague Emmanuel Ante, who is standing by to give us the latest on the situation in Ashaiman. Auditor General's report says over 9 million cedis unaccounted for in the Ghana Road Fund. Civil society holds a national conference to assess the achievements and challenges of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee on Oil and Gas Industry over the past 2 years. Stay with me as I bring you details of these stories and many more in a moment. Right, and so in a first story, employers who have defaulted in paying the contributions of their staff risk being imprisoned to a term of about 5 years and a fine not exceeding the amount of contribution paid. This is because the Social Security and National Insurance Trust will by the 2nd of July name and shame all defaulters. This forms part of moves to get employers to be prompt and regular in paying the contributions of their workers. Corporate Affairs Officer of SNIT Eva Amegashi cautioned and reminded them with newspaper publications and adverts that will be publishing their names. As of February this year, the fund manager was owed a total of 426 million Ghana cedis in unpaid contributions. Now, of this amount, the Controller and Accountant General owes a whopping 302 million Ghana cedis, while private companies account for the remaining 88 million Ghana cedis. Let's move on to some other stories. And modern policing is now shifting more and more towards proactive policing to reduce crime. Now, in pursuance of the Better Ghana agenda, policing has been taken to the doorstep of the citizens. Marion Toure has been around town today to assess the effects of increased police presence on our roads. Right now, we have experienced a visible increase in the number of policemen on our roads and in our communities. Now, some in patrol cars, others on motorbikes, and those we see under tents at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, the Arts Center, the Accra Mall, and other places within the capital, observing through the capital to see what they do on a typical day. Now, Marion Toure engaged a few who refused to grant interviews, and she was directed to the police headquarters. Now, if needed, she needed any clarification at all on their mission on our street. So she went over to the ACP Sika Norte. She is director of the National Patrol Department of the Police Service, established in February this year, and also tasked with frontline service delivery to create security and eliminate fear and social mistrust and lawlessness among citizens. Let's take a listen to ACP JK Sika. Well, I'll bring you the voice later, but let's take a break on the Midday Brief. When I return, I'll bring you more news. Yeah, welcome back, and this is still the Midday Brief. Now, the Steering Committee and Civil Society on Oil and Gas is organizing a national conference dubbed 2 Years of Public Interest and Accountability Committee, Achievements and Challenges. Stakeholders in the oil and gas industry will also be part of the conference. With me in the studio is Register Ni Ama and Noble Waja. They are both with the Committee and Civil Society on Oil and Gas. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me in the studio this afternoon.
You're welcome.
I want us to start with the challenges and achievements of the public interest and accountability after 2 years. But maybe we'll look at that later on as we talk. But really, why the need for this multi-stakeholder conference?
I think the multi-stakeholder conference is very necessary at this time. At this time, to me, in 2 years after the establishment of the Petroleum Revenue Management, which encompasses the Public Interest and Accountability Committee. So by saying that the Public Interest and Accountability Committee is part of the Petroleum Revenue Management, and the entire is part of the Petroleum Revenue Management Law or bill, which has been put in place as a response to how Ghana wants to manage its petroleum resources in ways that is consistent with accountability and good governance processes.
All right. So Register. Over the past 2 years, what has been the achievement? Let's start with that.
Well, basically, we're talking about putting in place transparency measures in the revenue management, and this is a provision that is spelled out in law. We've had experiences in some other countries where revenue from the natural resource, and we even have examples in the mining sector where citizenry complain about the revenue management situation. And so setting up the PIAC itself is an achievement. You have an establishment that is established by law, which is supposed to be independent, but which has worked for 2 years without resources coming from mainstream government. And so basically it's also an achievement for individuals on the committee to be working for government without being paid. They are doing virtually a pro bono thing. One of the things they have to do is to do a lot of public consultation, which is what they are doing. They've been to many of the regions to interact on how revenue have been used. They have also been working closely with Parliament and also with the Ministry of Finance, with the oil companies, to know exactly what is coming in. And they have published their reports as required by law. And so I think that, and their report is touted as one of the best reports seen anywhere. So I think that, yes, and if you look at the caliber of people on the committee, it tells you that these are people who have achieved something. And you should know that the members of the committee are institutional representation. And it includes chartered accountants, lawyers, and all that. So it tells you that this is a committee that is working for this country. Basically, those are achievements, and they are solid ones. The fact that they are holding government accountable to the oil revenue is a tremendous achievement. The fact that they are reaching out to people, they are talking to the ordinary person,
right,
to know about what is happening in the face of challenging resource constraints, is in itself also a major achievement. And that is why we are taking stock of the achievement in the face of these challenges. And then we look at how to address those challenges within the civil society setting. That was the push for those transparency strings, because it was civil society that pushed for accountability clauses in the law.
Right. I'm glad you brought up the Public Interest and Accountability Committee. Noble, you are a steering committee member. Over the years, I've read some of your reports where you have spoken about, yes, indeed, we have a very nice and vibrant oil and gas industry. It's growing beautifully, but you have had issues with your accountability. And then what happened when you brought up the report? What happened?
Well, like my colleagues earlier said, the PIAC has been established. It's a citizens committee. It's a citizen group. It's with oversight responsibility to monitor compliance on the revenue management of the oil. So, like you said earlier on, the PIAC draws its strength from various strands of people from different organizations, faith-based groups, legal entities, and all the rest. We also have people from the chartered accountants, as you said. So by so doing, the PIAC is representing civil society interests, and even not only civil society, but public interest.
Yes, so Noble, what I'm asking is, right, you have brought the report that indeed there are some issues within oil and gas industry. Now we are having a multi-stakeholder conference, and so when you brought the report to the necessary authorities or to whom it may concern, what happened? What next? I mean, do we need another stakeholder conference when nothing has happened?
I think yes, you have hit the nail on the head. The problem, that is one of the key challenges of PIAC. PIAC has churned out very wonderful reports as mandated by law, but nobody uses that report, and we expect government to fly with those reports. And that is the reason why, this is part of the reason why we are having this multi-stakeholder, to hear from the PIAC committee, those who constitute PIAC, to speak for themselves. And we have parliamentarians on board, we have people from other sections of the society, and we hope that from this time on, the recommendations that will come out from this meeting will lead the way, or will show the way on how PIAC reports should be utilized. PIAC has turned about 2-3 reports, which Richard alluded to has been very tremendously useful. It was even, similar event was done also in Washington to show the PIAC report, and everybody said this is a very wonderful report. But in country, we are not doing much with the report, and that is the sad story we have. That's an institution that we have, that was fiercely fought for its establishment. See, nobody is using these reports, and that is the fear we all have as a country, as civil society, and we are trying to have this meeting today to take a stock of our challenges, and this is one key challenge, and I think that this meeting will be able to at least come up with some recommendations that will be used to address this particular challenge that we are talking about.
Right. I realize you have something to share with us, but I just want to ask Rich just one more question. So at this multi-stakeholder conference, we are going to talk about 2 years of PIAC. Now, what do you hope to achieve at the end of this conference, considering that in any case, PIAC will come out with a report and then we'll do nothing with them?
Well, I think that we would first come out with a communique. And so the media will have access to the communique. That is certain. Beyond the communique, we're going to hold a number of sessions in the conference to identify the major issues that are coming up. And then we would have to find the best way forward. Because if we identify that, for instance, it is the implementation of PIAC's recommendation that is a challenge. What are the structures that are already in place? Like we said, we have members of parliament in there. Is it that the Parliament Public Accounts Committee that is supposed to do further work on it and is not doing it? How do we string them together? Is it that the Ministry of Finance that is not playing its role? How do we ensure that it plays its role? We said that PIAC is an independent committee. It sends its report to Parliament and to the executive. And it looks like it ends there. What role can civil society play? Because PIAC has a public website to push for recommendations that come out of PIAC's report. Because we are talking about Ghana's natural resource. We are talking about the usage of the revenue that accrues from the natural resource for now and for the heritage. So how do we ensure that when we put in place systems and institutions, those institutions work, and that their work become relevant to the country's development? And those are the stocks we are taking up. We are taking now. As we talk now, the conference is ongoing at the Best West Hotel at the airport residential area. And we are taking stock of all these issues that come to stream when it comes to transparent management of our resources that accrue from natural resource.
Right.
And so basically, we've had challenges when it comes to committees putting out reports and then those reports being shelved and we don't have them being used. But it's also because of what I would call the atrocious silence of the very good majority. Because the majority seem not to care. We are so apathetic to our national interest. And since this is a civil society-driven provision in the law, we as civil society think that no, we cannot continue to orphan the committee. We have to lead the committee. And this is also being supported by the World Bank. And you know, the country has a lot of dealings with the World Bank. So when we bring these issues up, and probably we prompt the World Bank, it could prompt government that these are their recommendations to meet. So meet those recommendations, and then we can continue to do business. Right,
and so unfortunately we'll have to end the conversation, but I'd want to find out from you, since you're steering committee member of PIAC. Now,
of the civil society
platform. Of the civil society platform on oil and gas. Right, and so over the years of all these challenges you have seen within the oil and gas and industry, people have come up with reports, and what do you think about the state of the industry now?
The state of the oil industry?
Yes.
Well, the oil industry is a profit-making entity, if I should put it that way. So they are busily making their profits, and so for that is it. But as a country, our interest is various.
How about yours as a civil society platform?
Yeah, we are very much interested in seeing the best of transparency and accountability in the management of our resources, as my colleague has alluded, and that is what we've stood for, and that is what
So we don't have that now. That is something that the oil and gas industry is lacking in.
Well, I wouldn't say we don't have. At least we have made some tremendous efforts, but this needs to be nurtured, and it needs to be consolidated, and that is the challenge.
So what would you like to see? That's what I'm asking.
Well, we would like to see the PIAC reports utilized in parliaments. We would like to see institutions utilizing the messages that the PIAC report have. It should not be just another report lying on the shelves that we all know to be. So, and I think that more so we need to understand this more clearly in the sense that the PIAC is stated in law, and we have asked for the PIAC, and now we have it. So we should utilize whatever outcomes it brings out to us in the way that we can achieve the necessary transparency.
I would have loved for us to continue, but we'll end the conversation here, and maybe some other time we'll take it up again. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. We hope you have a very fruitful multi-stakeholder conference today. Thank you very much, Register and Noble. Thank you very much. Moving on with the news, the minority in Parliament is proposing registration of all lobbyists as one way to reduce corruption in the country. Now, it is also calling on government and civil society groups to collaborate to ensure government has a statutory lobbying register that applies across board as part of improving democracy. This came up at a dialogue forum by Star Ghana for civil society groups and parliamentarians on improving transparency, accountability and responsive government.
Both majority and minority leaders in their presentation noted the best way to ensure transparency is to engage civil society to check executive power. The minority cited areas such as natural resource, open budget system, and lobbying register to enhance transparency.
We are sowing the seed for corruption because we then allow lobbying to be done according to who you know, whether it's through family members or it's through party. You must know somebody. But once the lobby register is established by law, you don't have that problem any longer. So you can track whatever is going on, and then you can publish whatever is going at the website of either Parliament or at the Chief of Staff's office, so that everybody can go there and get the information that he's looking for.
Civil society also endorsed calls for the lobbying register.
If you look at the judgment deaths we've had, clearly the cases around the judgment death, it's telling you clearly that there are some agent provocateurs, there are some people who call themselves lobbyists, and through the back door engage in all kinds of funny games. And somehow the unsuspecting parliament or unsuspecting executive may be, may be sold for lack of a better way. So it is important to have a register for lobbyists, know their interest, and that essentially would also enhance transparency. So it's a very good initiative.
Deputy Minority Leader Dominic Nitiwol also noted They will ensure that the Right to Information Bill is passed within a week when submitted for parliamentary approval.
The government brings the Right to Information Bill this week, would ensure that leadership lays it, and will ensure the minister does that. It will refer to the committee and it will be passed very urgent because MPs themselves are interested in passing that bill. It will be done in a week. We'll fast track it because bills can be done on what we call a certificate of emergency, and that's what we intend to do.
In an interview with the program's manager of Star Ghana, Ibrahim Tanko, he noted, as part of Star Ghana's number of actions to support Parliament, a Speaker's Breakfast program will be held in early July to support Parliament in improving its engagements with the Ghanaian populace.
A report published by the Auditor General's Department has revealed massive corruption in the administration of the road fund. The report reveals 6 toll booth operators failed to account for more than 9 million Ghana cedis between January and June 2010. According to the report, tickets were issued to Road Fund Secretariat by the Controller and Accountant General's Department. This occurred due to the failure of the fund managers to keep stock of the register containing details of receipts covering payments. Additionally, the report said the Secretariat failed to keep vouchers which could have been issued to recipients of tickets to indicate the details of tickets issued to them. Again, the fund managers also failed to issue way-bill tickets served as evidence to the various stations. And the revelation comes on the back of Monday's protest by angry youth in Ashaiman who blocked the Tema motorway to express their disgust at the deplorable state of their roads. The report also said nearly 500,000 Ghana cedis collected as 6 toll booths was never lodged in the road fund account as required by law. On the phone now is Vitas Azim, the Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, to give us some perspective from the angle of a civil society on how they see this report. Hello, sir. Sir.
Hello.
Vitas, what do you make of this report?
Pardon?
I was asking, what do you make of this report from the Auditor General's Department concerning the Ghana Road Fund and the unaccounted for 9 million Ghana cedis, as far as the civil society is concerned?
Well, the report is not different from other reports we've had about other departments, ministries and agencies. I think it's a serious problem that needs to be dealt with. The government needs to take this matter seriously. Audit reports, one, they're already behind time. This was around 2006. And some people will have moved. And so that's already a problem. But then there's need to take prominent action on some of these reports. Because it's becoming too much. Every time they come out with these reports and nobody follows up to take the necessary action, and the monies are not recovered.
One of these prominent actions you would expect that be taken against some of these institutions who cannot account for some of their monies?
Yes, so we expect that some steps should be taken to recover those monies, because the excuses are not acceptable. There are people that are supervising these people, the company and whoever are collecting these monies. And so if they supervise them and visit them regularly, this thing should not happen, at least for a 6-month period.
Right, and according to the report, some of these irregularities were made known to the institutions concerned. Some responded, others didn't. In the case where this government institution decides not to respond to some of these reports, what do we do as a nation?
Well, they are paid by the state from the consolidated fund. If they are not responding, they should be removed. Otherwise, that is what the impunity. That's what leads to impunity. You cannot continue to entertain this.
But is it possible? Is it that easy? Because some have said it would be just like the government shooting itself in the foot.
Pardon?
I'm asking, is that such an easy step to take for a government in power? For some, it will be shooting itself in the foot.
No, the line is not good. I'm not getting you well.
Well, we'll try and get Vitas Azim back on the telephone line. Now, he's been talking to us about the Auditor General's report. For him, these people who have come up with irregularities in the Auditor General's report, which he says is not the first time, should be sanctioned one way or the other. And the question I was putting to him was, are these government institutions sanctioning themselves? Is more or less shooting themselves in the foot, and perhaps wouldn't be an easy thing for government to do. So when we raise him back on the telephone, we would have him answer some of these questions, especially considering the Public Accounts Committee does not have the power to implement any sanction whatsoever. So in the meantime, let's move on to some other stories. And President John Mahama has made new nominations for Metropolitan, Municipal and District Chief Executives in the Western region. The nominations have been made by President John Dramani Mahama in accordance with Section 243 of the 1992 Constitution and Section 20 of the Local Government Act 1993, Act 462. The nominees include Oscar Ofori Labi Alwin, Daniel Kemambetu Eshan Elembele, Robert Wisdom Kujo Prestia Hunivali, and Christiana Kobina Takwa Insuim. The rest are Stephen Beidu Achampon for Wasa Amenfi East, Victor Samuel K. Mensu for Wasa Amenfi West, and Peter Inkwa for Sefi Akotombra. Meanwhile, a visit to... Let's go back to the Ashaiman story. And a visit to the Ashaiman community this morning confirmed that indeed calm has returned and work has begun on the road, according to the residents. The work began a few minutes after the chaos started in the community. A grader was seen earlier in the day leveling a portion of the road that they were agitating about, with laterite poured on some sides of it. The drivers say until they see real work being done, they will continue to agitate for the bad roads, and until the MCE does something about it to properly show that some work will be done, they won't stop agitating.
Anyway, yesterday administration to assist everything is going on well. The contractor have come to level the places.
I think they are smoothing the road. They are making the road surface smooth so that the vehicles can get easy access.
All right. Because of the demonstration, after the demonstration, the contractor and some of the road workers came in. So they started putting chippings and what do you call it? This red sand. So they started to fill the road. So we are playing. Let them come to our aid, because as for taxi drivers or even all the drivers in the station, we are suffering.
So what is currently going on?
Now they're bringing the gravel to spray for the road so that we are going to level very nicely so that the car can park well.
So how soon are you going to start this particular job?
The job we are going to start for today, going to all the days.
All right. Where are you going to start from? Because you can see some heaps of gravel being gathered on the shoulders of the road. Are you going to start right away, or you're waiting for some time?
No, I'm going to start right now. Yeah, I'm going to start right now because I'll just start from the police station, come to where the police station is. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So how soon do you think you're going to finish this particular job you started?
This job we start for yesterday, so we are going to take 1 month later before finish.
Now, personnel from the Ghana Fire Service have put out the fire which consumed the top floor of the Let-Up Pharmaceuticals building. The 3-story building located along the Graphic Road in Accra is reported to have housed several pharmaceutical products at the time of the incident. The cause of the fire, which according to a night guard started around 3:30 Tuesday, could not immediately be established by fire service. Now, 5 fire tenders were dispatched to deal with the situation, and several police personnel were also on hand to maintain law and order. The night guard, who spoke in condition of anonymity, noted that he had some explosions after being prompted by a trader, but initially felt it was the effect of the wings on electricity cables. The fire has since been put out, and the amount of goods destroyed is yet to be quantified. Well, sadly, in Kumasi Swami magazine, we are told that fire gutted the area also, and we're putting in efforts to raise our correspondent. When we do, we'll bring you some details on the midday brief. I'll be right back.
Hello. Most of you call me Tarzan, but of course that's not my name. My name is Tarzan. I've been involved in Ghana's public life for 25 years now. For 20 of those years, I have given my own views on how the governance of this country has gone. I've done so primarily in the columns of newspapers. The premise was that I should be able to sound off my opinion, but also provide a good informed basis from which you either agree or disagree with my opinion. My opinions will be backed by the input of experts. Tarzan's Take. Join news on Multi TV. I think whatever you're doing, make a date with us. If you don't have a digibox, buy one. If you can't afford to buy one, become friendly with somebody who has one. Because it'll be exciting. Tarzan's Take. Join us. It's a new way of looking at it.
Tarzan's Take. Sundays, 7 to 8 p.m. on Joy News, only on Multi TV and online www.multitvworld.com/streams.
Live from the studios of Joy FM in Accra, this is the Midday News with Jefferson Saki. Traveling around the world as an international journalist, I've come to realize that news is when we tell the stories that matter most to our society. Being fair, being accurate, and being clear, no matter how critical or political the stories we tell are, development journalism is our agenda. Here at Joy FM, news gathering is not just a job, it's a part of who we are. Do you follow activities back home when you are outside this country?
I do. You are one of them. I follow Joy FM too.
I'm Jefferson Saki. Join me at 12 hours GMT weekdays on Joy FM on the Midday News.
I just love Joy FM.
You're welcome back. And government says the Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration Ministry will consider the new directive by the United Kingdom for some countries it considers high risk to deposit an amount of £3,000 before travelling to the UK. The Deputy Information and Media Relations Minister was speaking at today's media briefing at the Flagstaff House. Well, now, Ghanaian students on scholarship who are studying at the various universities in the United Kingdom are being evicted from their accommodation and also denied access to academic services. Now, some of the stranded students have painted a very dire situation, which they say calls for urgent attention. Now, in a distress call, one of them, Fred Dodo, a student at the University of Hull, said they are being denied access to the school's library besides their eviction from their rooms. Others also say they are compelled to scrounge for daily survival as a result of a delay in disbursement of their living allowances by the Ghana Education Trust Fund. The GET Fund, about a month ago, conceded that it was having difficulties in raising funds to disburse to the students. The fund, however, assured that efforts were being made to scale the hurdles so the funds could be disbursed to the students as soon as possible. Moving on, government says it has managed to recover some 60,000 Ghana cedis from tax evaders in a special operation mounted by the Chief of Staff-led Presidential Task Force. Deputy Minister of Information and Media Relations Felix Kwache Ofosu said the amount was recovered on a single import route in 2 weeks. The task force commissioned in May this year has been tasked to plug revenue leakages and has so far made some arrests. The Deputy Information Minister at the daily briefing at the presidency said revenue collection at the ports has generally improved since task force started its work.
This particular task force is known as the Special Operations Unit. So far, they have been able to intercept a number of vehicles that were carrying varying volumes of goods. When the task force detects under invoicing or a discrepancy, they recover the amount that is outstanding and then impose a penalty of the same amount that was recovered. And this is what has led to the recovery of 60,000 Ghana cedis over the last 2 weeks. We urge the public also to cooperate with the task force and volunteer information that would lead to the arrest of individuals involved in this unpatriotic activity.
So modern policing is now shifting more and more towards proactive policing to reduce crime. Now, in pursuance of the Better Ghana agenda, policing has been taken to the doorsteps of citizens. Marion Ture has been around town today to assess the effects of increased police presence on our roads.
We have experienced a visible increase in the number of policemen on our roads and in our communities. Some in patrol cars, others on motorbikes, and those we see under tents at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, the Arts Centre, Accra Mall, and other places within the capital. Observing through the capital to see what they do on a typical day, I engaged a few who refused to grant interviews and directed me to the police headquarters if I needed clarification on their mission on our streets, so I went there. ACP Sika Norte is director of the National Patrol Department of the Police Service, established in February this year and tasked with frontline service delivery to create security and eliminate fear and social mistrust and lawlessness among citizens.
Green where we are operating, we have the field tents, and then we have the vehicles standing, then we have the red to these motorbike patrol points. For now, we have 2 things for the motorbike. The requirement is that they must stand outside visibly and show their police presence to ward off crime. Now we are in phase 2. 2 or 3 will be standing by the vehicle, whilst 2 or another 3 walk the beat about 20 meters to also show police presence and come back, and they change. They have times to be at the duties, so if you want to monitor, you will go.
He explained further the increased police presence goes a long way to bridge the gap between the police and the citizenry.
We are trying to bridge that problem because if we look at the developments taking on in Ghana and our own strategic national policing plan, from 2010 to 2014, we have plans to construct about 200 police stations. But if you ask to date how much has been achieved, no money, so nothing has been achieved. You understand? But with this visibility patrols and duty points, people can report their cases. The men, for now, they are not effecting arrests. They call and then quickly action is taken by other active police units. By the time we come when they will become full-fledged, and then we would arrest and then patrol using the car to move. But we are there to offer policing assistance to the public.
He believes this has been made possible due to government support for the service.
It's also become possible due to government support. In the history of Ghana Police, I'll tell you, this is the time police is having shiny cars. I'll use that word. And you understand.
Let's do some tourism now. The president of the Ghana Tourism Federation, David Nana Enim, is blaming the slow development of domestic tourism on lack of appreciation of the sector. Now, it is estimated that the number of Ghanaians who visit local tourist sites has reduced by half over the past 5 years. To reverse the trend, The Tourism Federation president believes there is the need for proper sensitization on the importance of domestic tourism while supporting the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts to identify new tourism sites and market existing ones.
Tourism is said to be the fourth highest revenue earner for the country. However, domestic patronage of tourism is low. The Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts has pledged its support in ensuring the growth and expansion of the industry, as Ghana has a number of tourist sites that have not yet been explored, while the existing ones are not properly marketed. The president of the Ghana Tourism Federation, David Nana Enim, outlined the strategies his organization will put in place to ensure that the private sector plays its role in the tourism sector.
We need to partner our strategic partners like the Ministry of Tourism, Culture, Creative Arts, and then the GT, Ghana Tourism Authority. So we need to partner them so that we work closely in hand. This, we believe, will help sustain the growth of tourism in Ghana, because tourism is a key issue, an issue where one party can do it. The public sector can do it without the private sector. Neither can the private sector do it alone without the public sector. So it's a matter of just working together as partners.
The Minister of Tourism, Culture and Creative Art, Elizabeth Ofosuadjare, explained how some Ghanaian festivals are going to be used to advertise and market the country's tourism industry.
The district assemblies are the right people to come on board with the Ministry of Tourism to make sure that our domestic tourist attractions are well advertised. In so doing, drawing their programs, they've been encouraged to add visits to their tourist attraction so that people's attention will be drawn to what each district has. During festivals, the programs should be such that if you go for Abuachiri, let's say on the Friday, it is a visit to tourist attraction A. On Thursday, there is a visit to tourist attraction B. In so doing, we'll be drawing attention to the beautiful tourist attraction we have in our district.
Meanwhile, a new executive body for the Ghana Tourism Federation has been sworn into office and was followed by the swearing in of a governing council and a subcommittee. The Ghana Tourism Federation is the highest governing body established to promote the cause of the private sector in the tourism industry. Leonora Amako Akpes reports for Joy News.
Now, President John Dramani Mahama says the government will restructure the educational system to upskill vocational and technical training in the country. That, he said, would produce graduates who could easily find jobs and contribute to the nation's socio-economic development. He said the current situation where graduates with degrees in the humanities found it difficult to find jobs was unacceptable, hence the determination of the government to reverse the situation. Now, President Mahama said this yesterday during a courtesy call on him by former German President Horst Kohler. Now, the German president, who is in the country to attend a meeting of European and African entrepreneurs, was at the seat of government to hold some discussions with President Mahama. The discussions centered on Ghana-German relations and the need for the youth to be given the requisite skills for the job market. Now, former President of Germany presented a report on the state of the youth prepared by young African and German entrepreneurs and an agenda of the meeting in Accra to President Mahama. The German politician of the Christian Democratic Union was German president from 2004 to 2010.
Entrepreneurship is not just where you can make as a president or a government, it's like this and all of a sudden you have all the entrepreneurs. It needs to be a process of training. It needs to be a process of changing the culture in society, and that takes, of course, time. But you need to give it attention politically, support from government, but also attention and appreciation in the society. I learned, for instance, in my kind of notes that vocational training seems, also in your society, not to have the highest, say, estimation. So civil servants have a higher estimation than a craftsman or a technical person. And fortunately, I must tell you, in Germany, that's not such a problem. With us, it's more that if someone has a technical profession, often he feels prouder.
The issues you've raised are issues that we are thinking around ourselves. We're having economies that are growing at a fast pace. Ghana is growing averagely at 8% per year, but the question we ask is, how is that growth translating into jobs for our people? And so government finds itself coming up with schemes and saying, look, this year we're going to help the private, small and medium enterprise sector with 100 million Ghana cedis. For instance, I'm just giving an example. And then you give it out as credit to small and medium enterprises. You come 5 years later, and either the businesses have not grown larger than they were, or some of them have even sunk, but definitely the one thing you find is the money is never paid back. And that is because entrepreneurial skill is lacking. Often if you set up a business and you don't have the skills to run it yourself, we have a culture where Ghanaians would insist on running their own business instead of employing people who can run the business for them to run it, and then you sit and, you at the end of the year take your profit and your dividends, but we insist on being the managing director ourselves, even if we don't have the skills to manage the business properly. And so these are issues that we need to unbundle and bring reforms into those areas so that we can see small and medium enterprises growing, utilizing credits that government can make available to them on easier terms than they can get from the bank. And that will allow them to expand their businesses, to employ more young people into the enterprises. So I am all with you in this conference.
Time now for some international news. On the foreign front, Mandela still remains in critical condition, and Taliban has launched a bomb attack on Afghan. There's more coming up shortly. Time now for some sports, and it's brought to you by Tigo. Sadly, the under-20 side for Ghana lost this game against the opponent from Spain, and ultimately slimming our chances of entering, going any further in the Under-20 World Cup. Let's take a look at this. For sports, but I told you earlier that we will bring you updates on the fire at Swami magazine. Take a look. Right, so maybe I'll leave you with that instead. It's been a brilliant hour. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amano. Thanks for your company on the Midday Brief. Goodbye.